I think the tariff hike puts the entire economy, not just the Chamber of Mines, under pressure, and we are cognizant of that, especially the impact of the tariff increase on the poor. And it is our hope that when the regulator finally makes a determination, they will take the special circumstances of the poor into consideration and implement it in such a way that the poor are protected against the tariff hike. But it is also important to say that this particular application relates to 2013 tariff increase that was given then. You'll remember that in 2013, Eskom's tariff application was 25%. And the question was whether to bite the bullet then or bite it later. And the regulator decided to give us 8% at that time. And it would be remiss of us to pretend as if there are no mechanisms to claw back and actually come back and show that there was some merit in what Eskom was saying in 2013. And so that is the problem that we find ourselves in. The problem was postponed. And I don't know if this time the regulator will postpone it again, and it will be unfortunate if that happens.
All right, with your permission, I just want to ask you a couple of more questions. Coal has come up in the media a lot. It's as if coal is the new gold, actually. And this is one of your resources that you employ in keeping your plants going. I'm just wondering why there's such a wide discrepancy in terms of pricing from your different suppliers. For instance, I've seen Exxaro's Arnott Colliery coal price, they say projected for 2016, is 1,369 rands per ton delivered, and that's compared to, for example, Thagiso's price of 418 rand. How do we have such a huge variance in what suppliers are delivering the same product to you for?
Part of the problem is that Eskom used to have this, or still has, this cost-plus mines. And the arrangement was that Eskom would finance the capital expenditure of the mines that supplied with coal. Now, what we have said recently is that, and that is what actually made coal expensive to us, because then you get tied to these mines in which you have invested the capital. What happened in Arnott, we had a 40-year contract with a cost-plus mine in which we had put in the capital expenditure. But the price is 900 rand, and the contract came to an end. And when the contract came to an end at 900 rand, we then said to Exxaro, we cannot afford to pay 900 if we can get the coal for 400 elsewhere in the market. And we then agreed to short-term supply agreements where we are procuring coal at 400. But if we were to renew the Exxaro contract, it would actually, with the cost plus, it will come to 1,396, not 69, 96. Because that 33 rand is also matters. But we have not said to Exxaro that you are, we will not talk to you, you are out of the picture. We have said, let's open it up to a tender process. And so we are currently adjudicating a tender. Exxaro and the mine is welcome to tender for the new coal supply contract. We have made it clear that we are not interested in the cost-plus arrangement and that the prices that we are shown must be competitive. I think we owe it to South Africa, to the regulator, to show that we are trying to reduce the costs of primary energy so that 2 or 3 years down the line, we don't come back here asking for another 25% increase.
All right. So then the other issue is, I believe you're paying penalties to people like Exxaro for some of the delays that you've experienced at Medupi. And the amounts that I'm seeing here, 5 to 6 billion maybe even in the future. Tell us about these deals. How do we get caught up in a situation where you've got a delay in building one of your plants, and now you're stuck with these penalties in the billions.
What happened at Medupi was that when the project started, Eskom signed a take-or-pay agreement in which they agreed that at the time when the project is estimated to complete, it will take coal from Exxaro. And Exxaro said, well, we are going to start sinking a mine to supply you with the coal, but you have to take the coal, and if you don't take it, you must pay for it. And so we have not paid. So in terms of that agreement, there are penalties that need to be paid because the project was then delayed. But the penalties have not been paid. What we have done in the past is we have made a provision to pay the penalties, and if you calculate what the penalties would be, they would come to about 5 or 6 billion. But in discussion with the executive committee and the board of Eskom, recently, what we have decided and have encouraged the managers in that area to do is not to pay the penalties, but to buy the coal and stockpile it. Because if you pay the penalties, it's a deadweight loss. So we are buying that coal from Exxaro, we're not paying them the penalties, and we will stockpile it. And we will use it when Medupi is ready, as Medupi gets ready. But also, we will also use it in the other mines to deal with the issue of supply tension, the issue of price. Because if we can show that actually we have other sources of supply, we can actually help to reduce the price of coal. So, yeah, there is talk about penalties, but we have not paid any penalty. There had been a provision, and we are going to write down that provision because we are actually taking the asset, putting it above ground and stockpiling it.
House prices